So one of the issues here is when you bring it back to what you said in terms of what that judge has written, what's actually happening out there is everyone is relinquishing through acquiescence because they didn't say anything, and because they didn't say anything, they're actually setting up a precedence for future applications of that nature.
It's exactly that, and that's there was a guy who was responsible for the mind control program in the US, and he came out in his later years of life and wrote a book, and it cost his life.
MK Ultra?
Yeah, the name of the program, or the name of the disorder that they create is called dissociative disorder.
All right.
And that gives a clue as to what the solution is, which is we have to associate back to each other, and we have to see, okay, if my neighbour's door can get kicked in like that, and guns pointed to their kids' heads, or he can get whatever, then that's the same as happening to me. Let's see because we're the same family, and it could happen to me. So let's just stop those things from happening, But this dissociative disorder is quite widespread right now, and they also use normalization. So you turn on the TV, which I personally don't watch because of this. Even just the visuals of it and the sound, the violence and special cops doing this and that, it's like, man, what are we normalizing in our minds? I remember growing up and hearing of the first, was it the Commando movie with who's that big guy? Yeah, that guy.
Arnold.
Yeah, and there was one scene where there was like a skill saw blade or something, and he used it and it like hit this guy's head, and it was pretty gruesome. And there was all this talk at school about it and that kind of stuff. Mate, now you get that on, that's nothing compared to what you see now. So the kids that are growing up and seeing this gruesome violence, imagine what's normal for them.
Exactly. So what are the three cases that most influence your thinking at this time?
Well, I've referred to it a couple of times. The Tuhoi case is like, it's a big one. And, inhumane treatment of children, all the waste, the intrusion to privacy and that kind of stuff, excessive punishment by process. That one there is really huge. I mean, to keep the case going for 4 years, right? That should have been just a couple of years ago. If it went over 18 months, that was case dismissed.
Exactly.
Any one of these things would be enough to have the case dismissed as a miscarriage of justice. And now, what you got is denial of trial by jury, and what the U.S. Embassy saying already reporting they're just going to get a $4,000 fine. Right? So that's one. The other one is Vince Seimer. I really admire his efforts too, and he's deliberately, he's a smart guy. He's deliberately staying within their legal and playing with their legal fiction to expose it, whether he knows of the other or not, but he's making a conscious choice to stay within there, and we need that to, again, speak to those that only think within those legal frameworks. So for him, forced representation, he's not allowed to speak for himself, as I understand it. Trial in absentia, which means he wasn't even there for the trial, and it's a blatant, zealous prosecution. The facts don't stack up; they're just spinning a yarn, and the fact that he can't speak for himself and wasn't even there. But as you know, from your law stuff, they're operating on the all caps name, which isn't his name.
Yes.
So if he's not there and he can't speak for himself, and they're operating on their own name, that signifies that our society and our justice system is operating in pure fiction.
You've got humans that have created these things, and now these things govern humans.
It also gives, deep insight into the way that our national societal infrastructure has been created. It has been created from one essence to dumb our people down, from another aspect to put things on the television, in the media. It comes out in music to a degree that we're accustomed to seeing violence in certain ways.
Yes.
So
movies.
It's almost a form of ritualistic.
It's mind control
programming. Yeah. And so what's happening is people are forgetting about their authentic self and who they are.
it used to be by fraud and deception, this admiralty law and birth registration and licensing or all of that kind of stuff. And if you knew the game well enough, you could stay out of it, right? And now they're just in this last year, and I've seen it from the start of my case to, when I left the country, or when I dismissed the case and then left the country. Now they're trying to prove and demonstrate how bad they are. So they're saying, we're unstoppable, Yes, it's unlawful. We don't care. Yes, we work for the foreign corporation on the New York Stock Exchange. They'll openly admit it in different circles now. There's one.
It's a way of putting fear into the people.
Yes.
And people will accept it because they're uneducated as to how it's really working and what's really going on.
I also think they're highlighting that this machine is so big that you can't stop it. And that's what they're actually saying.
That's what they're trying to say.
Yes.
Yeah. They think it's past the tipping point.
Yes.
And because so many more people are, the knowledge is just out there now. It's undeniable, right? Now they're coming out saying, "Yep, it's there. It's a rolling ball. You can't stop it," which is pure fiction. Again, if we hold the individual responsible, and this is where it comes to the third case, which is
your own case.
My own case, yes. Here with a couple of police constables. What's your name, sir?
I'm Constable Dave Reynolds from Kaitaia Police. My colleague number is DRBL 48.
What's your name?
Constable Knuckle, Kaitaia Police.
Right.
QID HMBC 53.
You're trespassing.
Listen.
Let's talk on the road.
Yeah.
Come on. Have you got a court order?
I don't need a court order. I'm assisting the electric board to cut off the supply to this property.
Are you...
Because you haven't been paying your bill.
Get off the property.
No.
What are you doing?
Because you're pregnant.
Yeah.
Let go of me. Look, let go of me.
Oh, stop hitting him! Okay, that's enough! That's enough!
I'm not even resisting.
Put your hands behind your back now.
I'm on my private property.
Get your hands behind your back now.
I'm on my private property.
Get your...
No.
Hey mate, you don't.
I can't.
Hey mate, you don't have to.
Get behind your back.
I've got the shirt tied table.
Hit him again.
Talk about police brutality.
Yeah.
That's too tight, sir.
Yeah.
That's too tight, sir.
Right.
That's far too tight. Release it.
No. You're under arrest for police assault. Oh, you resist arrest.
I got witnesses that you.
Yeah, you've got to.
You were the one that assaulted me.
Yeah.
I mean, I watched all the videos and stuff before and bought like 10 law dictionaries and, studied all of this stuff before I actually chose to take action and sort of find out whether it was real or not. But that's when the real lessons came to me, and it's a lot worse than I thought. It's a lot more integrated. It's definitely one system.
Yes,
And
your case is very interesting. I saw all those videos and the treatment you got, but how you kept yourself in honor all the time. And it amazed me how some of I call them agents of the matrix, the police are agents, the people working for the power companies are agents who are robotically complying through enforced fears put on them as well by their principals or their bosses.
Yes.
And you heard that countless times in there. Oh, you have to go see my boss, go see the guy in the office sitting in the high-rise building behind the desk.
Who doesn't have a name?
Don't have a name, exactly.
Yeah.
And they try and disassociate themselves to what they're actually doing.
Yeah,
So-
it's crazy. Eh?
It's crazy. They'll come and turn your power off or arrest you and all that, and they don't want to be personally liable. And I think this is a way, and we can talk about a future in our solutions, is how to get them, and that is to make them personally liable so that they
That's
do
exactly right.
disassociate themselves.
Yeah.
Anyway, carry on.
So yeah, no, that's exactly where we need to go. And so with my case, okay, you've got a blacklist of essential services, which is this from the Zeitgeist movie. That's what they're working towards with control of the monetary system, but it proves that they're doing it already.
Yes.
Okay, they don't have full control of, not to that degree, of the monetary system, but they're just blacklisting people of essential services. And if we allow that, well, jeepers, that's a bit of an immoral.
It's like how they're bringing out this copyright now on you're downloading and files and that, and if you download and get files or visit websites, you get blacklisted or taken off an ISP.
Yes, yeah, and so just to shout out to your listeners there, if you go to the Tor project, download their tool that'll protect you,
cool.
your internet access in the future. The other one was warrantless access to property, all of this. So there was no lawful basis for those guys to come and take me, and they took me in pretty extreme circumstances. But for the judge to then deny bail, and for the whole wheels of the Crown to then turn to try and deny me a trial, first by trying to say I was deluded. I'm not deluded, but I'm disillusioned. Is the word. I see beyond the illusion, as do you guys. We see more of the reality.
What I also want to acknowledge is from the videos is I want to acknowledge you stayed calm and you stayed in peace, in quite a volatile situation. Another thing I want to acknowledge is when you went into the courtroom, you wore that flag around your neck and you wore it as a cape. But in actual fact, that was your biggest protection in terms of jurisdiction. And I also noticed that they tried to get you to take it off, and by taking that off, you would have stepped into their jurisdiction. Those are big steps to actually take. I've seen that many times here in the Hamilton District Courts. But the thing is, what our guys do is they wear it on their clothes, and so they stay in that jurisdiction all the time. And what happens is, because they're dealing with maritime admiralty law, it has no jurisdiction over he whakaputanga. And so they won cases just by doing that.
Yeah, it sort of depends on a couple of factors, which is how bad do they want you, how bad do they want to silence you, and how much support you've got.
Yeah,
pretty much those two. So when I entered the courtroom after that, I didn't actually take a lot of support there. I only had I had more girls than boys, and probably 6 or 7 people there, and so I didn't have a lot of support on that day. And they threatened me with imprisonment for going in there with the flag. They'd stood it down 3 times. I did take it off and didn't enter the courtroom and
into the ship.
Them. Yeah, exactly. I didn't enter the ship, and then said, "Well, I've taken my flag off, and you've taken yours off now too, and we're both on the land." So actually, in the end, it was actually with he whakaputanga, although it was their failure to prove their claim.
I have the flag tamokoro on me.
I think that flag that could actually be used all over the world.
Yes, it is. It's still recognised internationally.
Yeah, by anyone of any nation, because they put everyone into at sea. So it allows anyone to come back, tangata whenua worldwide, really. And so back to my case here, that after that thing happened, and I really had to stop focusing on tikanga, and I looked at common law more, but they forced me into that looking in the legislative stuff, especially when they had me in prison, and also forced me to go speak to psychiatrists and stuff like that. So what I evidenced was undue process of law, numerous causes for miscarriage of justice, 16 breaches to the Bill of Rights, and I was very reasonable using their legal stuff and pointing it all out the whole way, motions to dismiss, and I've got a big filing cabinet about 1 foot tall, fighting with their legal stuff, right? Yeah. And the point is, any reasonable man or woman would come to the same conclusion that I did, which is, if you don't even respect your own rules, maybe they're not legitimate. They're not giving me any protection. You're just using any which one you want and then breaking any which one you want.
Yes.
So it begs the question, are your rules legitimate?
Yes.
And that's what I threw down to them, because they doctored documents, they had me guilty on paper, no evidence, no lawful basis. Then they just basically yanked a man from his family,
Yes.
And
Exactly.
they were gonna put me in prison for as much as they could. So any reasonable person faced with that experience, I believe, would come to that conclusion. And it works, though they're illegitimate.
This deception goes even deeper when it comes to the courts that we attend. When showing up to court, you will notice that there are seats for witnesses behind a wooden fence or barrier. The defendant must cross through the entrance to the other side of the barrier where the plaintiff and judge sit. This act symbolizes the boarding of a ship. At this time, business can be conducted in maritime admiralty law. The judge, acting as captain or banker, is responsible for settling the balance between the two sides. This is why there is always a monetary value involved in any court case. The captain is simply dealing with banking and merchant disputes.